Bob Crow, General Secretary of the RMT. Give him a big hand.
Comrade Chair, comrades, it's a pleasure to be here today, and I think it's no good us having a debate about what kind of social system that we would like to have if we can't get rid of this crowd out of government. Because the reality is pretty simple. Things are changing rapidly. Who would have thought 5 years ago, when we were supposed to be at this boom, that the banks are supposed to have given us all this, caused this financial chaos, but 5 years ago when things were going particularly well, who would have thought that students were ripping down parts of London and Scottish referees were going on strike? Only problem is, some of the Scottish footballers that they played over the last 5 or 6 years have been on strike as well. Some of the performances that they played. Of course, I wouldn't say that in Glasgow, only south of the border. How things change. In Dublin today, our branch in Dublin, the Dublin Seafarers branch, is out demonstrating, and these are the people. People that were told, if you remember, some 15 years ago, that the European project was the only way. A social Europe, we was told. That Jacques Delors in 1990 said that class struggle is over. That's what he said to the TUC. That you can have a social Europe. You can have brilliant holidays, you can have great pensions, you can have great pay, and you can have low unemployment levels. The struggle is over. And of course, we all know what the score is. People went to bed that night, and a lot of people believed it, that they honestly believed that things would be working on consensus. When you wanted more holidays, the boss would just say, look at old Stan there, doesn't he look tired? Give him a week's holiday. And Lindsay, oh, she's under the weather a bit. We'll have to jack her up, pinch her up so she can go early. And Andrew, he's looking a bit weary today, so we need to increase the sick pay, and so on. Of course, we all know everything we've achieved, and I actually thought when I started working in 1977 that the pensions were actually there, that holidays was there, that sick pay was there. I didn't realise that when the railways were nationalised in 1948, there was 12 days holiday. That's all there was. There was 2 bank holidays, Good Friday and Christmas Day. And I didn't realise that the forefathers and foremothers of our organisation struggled to get those achievements. Of course, after the war, those people that went out and fought fascism come back and said, we ain't going to have the same society that we had before the war and going to be used like cannon fodder like it was in World War I. We want a house, we want a job, we want a decent national health service, we want a comprehensive education, and we want to look after our pensioners so they're in dignity and respect. And by God, they changed that system. And I'm not one of these people, by the way, that are in the Labour Party and just have a go at the Labour Party. The Labour Party in 1945, in my view, played an absolutely revolutionary position about what they've done. And they should be applauded for what they've done. However, they're living in that memory now. And I've got to say this, all of a sudden now, it's like this Labour Party weren't part of this. Where were they? Where would they have been? And it'd just be nice, that programme, Life on Mars, if we could have the same situation, if we could let Labour have a further year in government to see what they've done. Because they would have carried out the same policies as the Tories, only in a different way. Like going up an escalator on the tube, if they're working, one gets to the top quicker than the other one. And the fact is, he's already said Miliband, didn't he? Miliband says here only support responsible strikes. So every strike he should support then. Because I don't know no unresponsible strikes. I know irresponsible employers who want to sack workers. And when people talk about civil disobedience, that call should have been made at the RMT by the TUC, well, to see what the civil disobedience that I've seen over the last 25, 30 years is the complete closure of the British coal industry, the complete closure of the steel industry. There's the disobedience and the breakdown to society that I've seen. So therefore, brothers and sisters, yes, all right, a few windows got smashed. Might create a bit of unemployment for those people that in the glazing trade. However, if we just marched around with placards in, there would have been no coverage whatsoever. And the fact is, the Charterists understood the same thing. They was marching for years until they realised that no one was taking no notice of them. It's only when they started throwing a few bricks through windows that people started understanding they're the real cause. Now, of course, the Charterists now rightly so, are heroes. But the fact of the matter is, at the time, they was castigated. In my view, these students, in years to come, history will judge that they're right. And I don't say this purely at the National Pensions Convention. I'm not knocking them, they do a fantastic role, and we're part of it. And we're all going to be in that pensionable age, sooner or later. But as I've said time after time to pensioners, it's no good marching up and down streets with placards. The pensioners should be doing exactly the same as what the students are doing to get the proper state pension that they deserve. I'm finished, brothers and sisters. I'm finishing to say, brothers and sisters, what Ken Loach quite rightly said, you've got to start giving people hope. And if we can't unite over this, then what are we going to unite? Meetings like this give us the opportunity to reaffirm our belief, reaffirm our commitment to standing for what we call is social justice. And I say, put our differences together, stand together and take on the real enemies out there, the class system, the Tories, the Liberals, and also the right wing in the Labour Party. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Bob.